Hello everyone, this is the Student StarCraft AI Tournament weekly broadcast, the SSCAIT report. I'm your commentator today, Chobo Swackins, aka Jealous on Team Liquid. I've been playing AIs on and off for a couple of years now, and I'm looking forward to broadcasting some games for your enjoyment today. So, without further ado, let's get started. Our first match is going to be on Jade between Egbert and Slater. These games were recommended to us by developers in the Discord, which you can find in the links below. And immediately we see a very quick SCV going forward for Egbert. He's going to be cross-scouting on Jade, which is not a very common tactic, to say the least. I was expecting maybe a BBS of some sort, which is Barracks Supply Depot, but it does not seem to be the case. He kind of gets trapped here, and the probe from Slater is going to be chasing that SCV around. Also, probably not optimal, but we'll see what comes out of this. Maybe the AI has great reactions to what he scouts in the base of the Protoss. He or she, sorry. We have a gateway coming down for the Protoss player at what seems to be the standard timing of 10. And back in the Terran base, we have the barracks coming down after a supply depot. So the early scout seems to be just as a way of being aware of what the opponent is doing. Here we have what I believe to be a second pylon. That means we should be expecting a zealot coming out of the gateway. And meanwhile, in the Terran base, we have added the gas, which is also standard. Yep, the second pylon is a bit unusual for Protoss. Zealot harassment, though, is certainly an option. And as the Protoss computer is going to check here, he's going to see that there's no opponent here. It'll be interesting to see where the zealot decides to go. The Zealot decides to hold the ramp, so that is somewhat of a weird option. Usually what you want to do with your starting Zealot is to go attack and harass the Terran, especially considering the fact that there's no SimCity here. Normally what you would see is maybe a depot here, and then that would prevent the Zealot from coming in. You can shoot from behind. And you could also move the barracks over and then put the depot to the side. Marines can walk through the depot wall here, but the Zealot can't walk through here. But for now, it's going to be, seems to be very stable play from both players, very defensive. And we're adding a third pylon. Gas is on the way. And it should be noted that the Protoss AI here doesn't seem to be very concerned about whether or not the probe has a mineral in its hands when it does something. For example, the scouting probe had a mineral in its hands, and now this probe went into the gas holding a holding mineral in its hands as well. We have a second gateway coming up, so it's going to be, it seems like a weird version of 1021 gates. Looks like it was 1026 or so, 1025 maybe, which is slightly unusual. I mean, also considering the fact that no gas has been, no range has been started as well, probably due to the lateness of the gas added. However, now the two Zealots are going to be moving forward against the Marines. There are 4 Marines here. Let's see if there's anything defensively. A Vulture is on the way in anticipation of these Zealots, so this should definitely help defensively. Third Zealot is on the way, actually, as well. So perhaps this will do some damage. Nice Marine micro here. This is very nicely done by the Terran opponent. Unfortunately, the Zealots are a bit too strong, but it seems like they retreated as soon as they saw the Vulture. Unfortunately, with good Vulture micro, these can get shot down all the way back to the Protoss main. And let's see what the Terran opts to do here. He is going to give chase. There is a third Zealot on the way. This is now becoming a very committed attack from the Protoss player. Normally you would have seen Dragoons way earlier than this. And as I said before, the first Zealot maybe should have gone out in anticipation of doing some damage earlier on. The Vulture seems to have chosen this position to be defensive at. It is still waiting and using the Marine to scout. It's actually multiple Zealots. It's looks like the Dragoon, just the first one coming out now. It seems to be a very heavy commitment to Zealots, which is rather unusual, but so far he has mitigated any damage that could have possibly happened because the Vulture is concerned with whittling down this Zealot health, and we have 2 Dragoons out now. And now I would expect these Dragoons to go to the front and start attacking the Marine and Vulture and maybe doing a counter push of some sort. The Protoss in the meantime has taken their Nexus at their natural, And let's see what our Terran opponent is doing. Terran opponent is actually on 2 factories. I don't see any add-ons spinning. There is a low ground bunker, which is an interesting choice. But I believe that the Terran, the Protoss with 2 gateways and a robotics facility should be well equipped to handle this Terran pressure off 2 factories. Terran is going to be sieging up. Looks like he went for siege before getting mines or vulture speed. The vultures seem to be only used in a threatening manner in order to keep the Protoss pressure away while the expansion comes up safely for the Terran player. This is very safe play from the Terran opponent, and slightly unusual, but also aggressive play from the Protoss player. But it would be really great if the AI here would just commit to aggressing against this, because I believe that with 5 zealots in the mix, there's definitely enough to potentially deny this expansion, or at least slow it down significantly. As the vulture count grows, however, those zealots become less and less useful. So let's see how this goes. The vultures are going out now. It looks like they're trying to whittle down the Protoss some more, and they are going to be successful in scaring it away from further engagements. Meanwhile, in the main base, this SCV has been scouting like a champion for so long now. We do have a shuttle here, which is interesting. I'm curious to see what that shuttle will be used for, because zealot bombs, if correctly utilized, could actually disable this expansion quite easily, even with 3 siege tanks there. What you would do is you would scoop up 4 zealots, and then you would load them up, and then you would drop them right on top of the tanks. The dragoons being able to pressure, but now with 4 tanks here, I'm starting to suspect that this attack is not going to amount for too much. Ooh, interesting unsiege here. I'm not sure about this decision. Looks like he was just in the middle of repositioning. And 2 zealots go down just like that, and now the Protoss has absolutely no way of pushing its advantage here. And this is one of my favorite things of watching AIs, is seeing how they siege push forward. I'm guessing that we're going to see a gradual push forward. Yes, so this tank's unsieged last, and it's going to be pushing up slowly but surely. Yes, so slowly but surely, kind of hopping its way towards in front of the map, and this could be the beginning of a very slow but very powerful push. Now that we're going up to the 3rd factory or 4th factory, it seems like, compared to the Protoss 2 gateways. 2 gateways certainly not enough to hold off 4 factories worth of production from Terran. Generally speaking, you want 1.5 times the amount of gateways that your opponent has factories. So in this case, with 4 factories, you would want to see the Protoss on 6 gateways of their own. Definitely speed and shuttles in the mix in order to hold this if this was a human player. However, it seems that the Terran is content to sit back for a while and probably secure its 3rd base behind this. And I think this may be a command center. It might be a Stargate. Not 100% sure. Yep, it's a starport. It is. We have +1 spinning. Seems like it's going to be a 2 base push. Actually, whoa, double starport. Actually, now I'm interested in seeing what this is potentially. The Vultures continue to pressure the Protoss army back because of its heavy zealot composition. However, there's no shots being fired, really. Now a few here. Trying to soften up these zealots. The shuttle seems to be indecisive as to what to do. This zealot is protecting the 3rd base, and here it is. That's what the shuttle was waiting for. It was waiting for this Reaver. And now we see the gateways added. We're going up to 5 gateways against 4 factories, which may be able to hold it, especially with the Reaver's support. However, no push seems to be forthcoming. The Terran seems to be quite content to just sit on 2 bases for now as it goes into... Is this going to be dropships or wraiths? Because I've seen quite a number of AI, they opt for wraiths because they're easy to harass with. They're like Ultralisks. They fly into your base, they can cloak, they can kill probes, or at least be very annoying. It's a very interesting approach to the game. Meanwhile, I should also note that the Protoss player is not producing more probes. He's completely intent on producing units at the moment. It looks like he's going for the timing. He does have speed on the shuttle. That makes this push potentially dangerous. Let's watch the engagement here. And with slow lots that are being dragged away by this Vulture, I don't think he's going to be able to bridge this gap. And especially with the tanks on the high ground here, this is going to be a very dangerous push. I'm sorry, very dangerous attack. And yes, we have the Wraith out. The Wraith should be able to help with the shuttle as well. The shuttle seems to be aware of this and scared of moving out. The tanks are moving forward ever more aggressively, which I'm kind of surprised about. There's no mine coverage here. The Zealot count is climbing. but the tanks are leapfrogging very nicely. Oh, we got a Reaver drop here. It kills one SCV at least. Let's see if we take another shot. Yes, 2 more go down right there, but as the Tyrant push continues, the Vulture count is actually whittled down quite considerably. The Protoss decides to attack, and this could be devastating. This is exactly what the Tyrant wants to avoid in a situation like this. It's actually somewhat on the low ground here on the ramp, and all of the tanks get eliminated. Now suddenly the Tyrant is in a lot of trouble. This Reaver continuing to harass here, but there are quite a number of tanks here, but still no mines out on the field. This could be a quick GG here from the Terran player. He's continuously sieging and unsieging, apparently confused by the presence of the Reaver and the danger posed by the army here. The Observer does go down. There is another one on the way. But in the meantime, it should be noted that Terran has successfully set up their third base. Let's see how this push continues. I think there's easily enough here if the Dragoons run and sit on top of the tanks, but unfortunately, they are consistently being confused by the presence of all these other units, and it looks like the Terran will hold now with 6 tanks here and a consistent flow of Vultures and as well as some Wraiths to distract. The Reaver now no longer able... Oh, finds a little hole here. The siege tank sieges up right on time. Does it hit? Nope. Sieges, unsieges. The Reaver continuing to do damage. Will the shuttle pick it up before getting hit? No, the tank keeps not committing. The tank is very much confused about what to do here. And eventually the tank, it seems like, is going to be moving a little bit forward. And, whoa, I just heard a dead Reaver. How did that happen? Did it get hit? I think it might have gotten too far. I wasn't looking at that part of the screen, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. Let's see what the Protoss is doing. In the meantime, the Protoss is taking its third base, and here's that Wraith harass. Oh, what are these Zealots doing? Oh no! These Zealots would have been worth their weight in gold in terms of busting this natural right here. But more Wraiths on the way. Looks like they're going to be harassing this mineral line over here. And so many probes are going down. So just 1 or 2 Dragoons back here would have been able to prevent this from happening, but it seems like despite all of the losses Terran took early on, this Protoss, with its inability to handle these Wraiths, is going to be hemorrhaging probes for the foreseeable future. Let's see how this engagement is going. The Dragoons are still not entirely sure on what to do, and as the number of units here has dwindled, the Terran is going to reinitiate that monstrous push that we were seeing earlier. Here at the third base, we're starting to saturate with SCVs. This SCV count is very low because of the Reaver harassment, but as I mentioned before, these Wraiths are continuously picking off units. I'd be really interested in seeing how many kills these have. These Zealots, oh wow, they're even... This is like the recall stacking trick because of the probe that went by. I'm sure that the bot author will see this and think to themselves, oh boy, I wish those Zealots were over here, because actually the tank count has again been whittled down at some point. The Dragoons seemed fit to be aggressive for a moment at some point. So for now we have a status quo that is definitely not favoring the Protoss. I mean, the Protoss is ahead by about 40-50 supply, which is quite standard at this stage of the game when it's 3 base versus just a recent 3 base, but the amount of probes being hemorrhaged is really going to start showing up soon. And now we have a 4th base from the Terran player here on the other 3rd base. The push is continuing, but I still don't think that this is enough. I mean, I'm loving this leapfrogging action, but if Protoss just balled up all of its units together, I really believe that it would be able to push this back very easily and maybe even possibly win the game by pushing into the natural. The Reaver is still here, deciding on how to approach, but unfortunately there are Marines here preventing it from going in. The Reaver and the shuttle would be definitely very useful for busting this as well. And look, now it's just naked tanks. All the SCVs here would have been a very useful thing. The Vultures run in here. Very nice decision by the bot here to take out the probes. And let's see what happens next. The Protoss seems to be finally deciding to go back to its base to handle this now that the Vultures and the Wraiths are both threatening its mineral line, and this mineral line is so starved as well. The only safe mineral line that the Protoss has is over here with the army of Zealots here. So for now, now we have the tanks coming out with a push. Are there going to be Vulture support? Yes, there is. We're up to a total of going to be 5 factories now with 2 starports. Let's see the engage. The Dragoons catch the tanks off guard, sieging, unsieging, not being able to decide on what it wants to do with the Dragoons moving in and out of the range of the siege mode, I'm guessing. And Now the main is completely cleared of probes. These wraiths are going to take down the gas, interestingly enough, even though there are probes out here. Finally, some of the zealots decide to free themselves from the vortex and the natural. And let's see what happens in this engage. The zealots look like they're poised to run in on the tanks. Still no speed on them, but they are going to get coverage around top of the tanks, and this push is definitely going to be held off at this point. But the Vultures, are they going to try to run by? No, they see the Dragoons there. They decide to head home. No speed or mines on them as well. And now we do the run by. Very nice decision here. This is one way to heavily frustrate your Protoss opponents, both humans and AI alike, is to, as soon as some opening appears, you slide some Vultures into their base, you start taking out probes, start forcing transfers, which is lost mining time, aka idle time. And the loss of 3 Vultures is definitely worth it in this situation, especially considering the fact that it had slowed down the army. And in the meantime, the Terran is now expanding furiously to, it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th base right in front of the Zealot's face. This is the 5th base, this is the 4th base with another starport here. No defense anywhere really, no mines. And Protoss has way more than enough army to go engage the Terran opponent. However, it seems to be constantly in a state of frustration, both from these wraiths that are wrecking its economy, both because of the Zealot Vortex, unsure of what to do with itself, and just generally being forced into a defensive situation by these small harassing units, these forces from Egbert. Surprisingly, it should be noted that Egbert, floating 3,000 minerals at this time, generally with an APM of 2,000, 3,000, you should be able to have very good macro, but it seems like he's not opting to use all of his factories. He's actually not even getting upgrades as well, so I'm quite confused as to why that may be. Perhaps the bot author can comment in the comment section to describe to us what is going on here. Let's see, we also have, I mean, now the Nexus is going to be going down to the main base, which is not good news for the Protoss point, and we have more Vultures running in here. The Protoss being just forced left and right, but finally a lot more of the Zealots are making their way out of the vortex. With this amount of Zealots, a frontal attack could be absolutely devastating for the Terran player, who has actually almost no army production at this moment. Floating 5,000 minerals, perhaps, I mean, obviously it has a late game plan, because it is expanding, taking up the majority of the map. We have a 7th base going up now over here, and it just looks like the Protoss is just completely focused on defending its bases, what remains of them at least, because of its economy. I mean, the comparison in minerals and gas on both sides is quite enormous. I mean, maybe that is part of the contributing reason why there's no macro coming from the Terran side. We have very low gas. We don't have a 3rd or even a 2nd gas anymore. It looks like because the Reaver took it out, the AI does not decide to rebuild it. It's going to be stuck on 1 gas potentially for the rest of the game. This is still a mining gas, but there's only 2 SCVs on it, interestingly enough. But at the same time, against such a Zealot-heavy composition, pure Vultures would be fantastic. But now the race move on to the natural, and now they're going to be taking out the probes here. And this may very well be the end for the Protoss player. I mean, the Protoss player can still imaginably win from this position if it just commits, but unfortunately, with its economy continuously decreasing, now down to less than 20 workers against the 66 of the Terran opponent. Finally, we're seeing some aggressive movement. It is moving forward. Let's see where he decides to go next. It looks like it's going to the bottom right where there's a probe, and this will easily take out this base. But is the army going to follow suit? No, it's not. It's going to focus on these idle Vultures, and this Vulture likely is going to run to the 3rd base again, where precious economy exists for the Protoss player. Interesting enough, he has 4 probes on this base, which I don't think is necessary. I think you can settle with 3. And here comes that Vulture, and is it going to force the army to come back, running back and forth? Yes, it is. It seems to be. Now down to 5 workers for Slater. And it seems like we're going to be seeing quite a little bit more of this, and as we are limited to about 1 hour of broadcast time, I'm going to speed it up a little bit here, just to see how this plays out. Will the Protoss ever decide to engage here? Will the Protoss use this massive ball of Zealots to destroy the Terran that is on 12,000 minerals? The Reaver now coming into play. The Reaver seems to have taken advantage of some holes in the defenses, taken down a turret, but there's not enough minerals for it to afford any more Scarabs. This is tragic. There's only 1 probe, and it's mining gas, and it's not going to have any more money. This is the last army that the Protoss will ever have. It does succeed in taking out this base, and I think that the Protoss realizes the desperate situation that it's in, and now is going to go for the all-out offensive against the Terran base. I sincerely hope. This could be devastating. This is a very interesting base race scenario now. We do see all the factories pumping Vultures now. It seems like the panic button has been struck, but now the Zealots are slow and they're retreating from the Vultures. No! There's so many of you. These are certainly not the manlots of reach of pro gamer history. They seem much more content to run back home, but with 2 minerals and no probes left, there's no point in defending your base anymore, Protoss. You must go defeat the Terran on his own turf. The Terran continues to expand, taking all the bases on the map, which is an effective strategy at preventing your opponent from stretching the game out, but it seems that this army movement is the only thing that is keeping this Protoss in the game. And let's see, will the Terran start spending its money more effectively? No, it seems that after 1 or 2 rounds of Vultures, it has decided that it no longer needs that much army. Actually, here we go. We're seeing another round of units. Is this gas depleted yet? Let me go check on the animation. Yes, that is a depleted geyser. You can tell by the little wisp that comes out, it's much smaller than before. And continuing to Reaver harass with no scarabs, and unfortunately it seems like this match is going to be continuing in this manner despite the army being at 106 supply versus 36. This army is never going to make that decisive leap to take out the Terran, and credit where credit is due. It is due to this fantastic harassment by the Terran player. Even though it obviously does not work quite to this extent in for humans, it is very similar to the ways that AI can, or other players can, annoy human players. Especially considering the fact that human players would not be floating 22,000 APM. It is quite imaginable that this kind of tactic would indeed be devastating against a human player if executed better with the appropriate macro and gas behind it. 25,000 minerals now for Egbert, 67 workers, which is pretty much the optimal count for TVP late game. And our Protoss is slowly going to hemorrhage units here, and so we are going to speed it up just a little bit more, as we're going to see. Oh, it looks like he is interested in clearing out this expansion at its own natural. It seems that he has gone all the way back to his base for another Zealot gathering to clear out that Vulture. But will we ever see an actual engagement? Actually, I'm quite curious to see how this ends, in the sense that will it be an elimination by units, or will eventually the army go down? I really hope that the Protoss eventually decides to push this Terran opponent, but it seems like these waves of Vultures, these 2 macro cycles of Vultures, are more than capable of holding off this Terran, this Protoss opponent. And these Zealots now are being whittled down by these Wraiths. One by one they're going down as they dance in the main on the grounds of the Fallen Nexus on the tile set of Shakuras. And the Terran is continuing to mine along happily. The army does decide to go for this base, but if it had only gone for the main, there would be a chance of hope, but it continues to avoid the issue. Every time it moves out of its base, Vultures run in, another command center goes down in the former natural of Protoss, and having cleared this threat, and soon to clear this natural, I imagine the Protoss move out again, only to again be thwarted by another round of Vultures, maybe? Looks like there's going to be another aggressive move here against now the bottom right base, and let's see, is there going to be a macro cycle of Vultures on cue? No, there is not. It seems the Terran, with 43,000 minerals, has lost another base. I'm surprised that the Protoss doesn't continue pushing further. This is an undefended base, as is this one. And it looks like it's interested in going across the map now to push this base instead, which has only 1 mineral patch left on it, which is, funnily enough, pretty full, it seems. And now the idle factory being repaired. What is going on back at the Protoss main? The buildings are going down. There's only about 7 buildings left now for the Protoss as he finally decides to start taking out these bases. Last desperation move. Has time run out for the Protoss player. How quickly will these buildings go down relative to how quickly the Protoss can take out bases? But every time it takes down a base, a new one pops up in its place. It looks like this SCV is ready for another command center as well. There it is. His friend comes over to take care of that, and the army is going to circle back. Now pushing this base. Long dead, but still with buildings in it. And how many buildings has the Protoss down left now too? Just one, and that is the game. So, let's review what happened here. So, definitely very interesting early decision-making from both players. I mean, the Protoss can be going for so many Zealots. That is definitely a viable strategy, especially against an opponent that doesn't SimCity in their main base. Zealots can be absolutely devastating before factory units come out. However, choosing to defend with the first Zealot, probably used to various all-ins from Terran, and actually, maybe this is ironic, maybe not, but if I was a human player and I saw an SCV scout that early, which was, what, the 5th SCV coming out from the Terran player, came over to the Protoss main base, I would be suspecting cheese too. I'd probably keep my Zealot back in my base, but having come forward with 3, there was some great micro here from the Marines, and when the Vulture choice was really good to throw in a Vulture to hold off the early Zealot pressure. But what really struck me was not only the fact that the tanks were pushing really well here, it was the fact that the Protoss, when they had a lot of army and more than enough to engage, it was the AI of the Vultures that kept pushing the Protoss army back, not permitting the Protoss AI from engaging the tanks and potentially pushing them back to their natural and potentially winning the game early on. And then this is a very clear example, in my opinion, of with all due respect, 2 AIs with like opposite holes in their play. The 52,000 mineral bank with the idle factories, as opposed to the very active production, but the lack of defense from the Protoss player, losing all of his workers. It was definitely a very interesting game in which we could see the duality of approaches from some of the quote-unquote potato AI, as the submitter called it. So from here, we'll be going on to the next game. If you give me just one moment, I will be bringing that up for you shortly. I remember that it's going to be between Microwave and, let's see. Sorry, one moment. I had to close Discord for a second, and as a result, now I have to open it back up to find it. Yeah, this was replay was submitted by Egbert. He said, if you need a potato versus potato, this is my suggestion. So, with all due respect, I think that the authors are very well aware of the issues that are present here, and hopefully we'll be seeing these bots in a more stronger iteration in the future. Now we'll be going on to the next game. The next game is going to be Stone versus Microwave on Python. And oh my goodness, immediately we have 3 SCVs forward from Stone. What is this? Is this... what? I have never seen anything like... okay, correction. I've seen this strategy done a very long time ago on Lost Temple by a player by the name of Nalara. He used to scout with all of his probes and use them to harass. He's going to be scouting each base and sending an SCV here, presumably to harass drones, but one thing to remember is that drones are ranged and SCVs are not. Probes are also ranged, so that is why they're good for this harassment strategy. I'm curious to see what this SCV is going to do. Is it just going to try to mess with the AI of the Zerg? Whoa, what is this? What is this dance here? It seems like it can't decide what to do. Wow. Okay, oh. Okay, it dropped off the mineral. That was very interesting to see. Now the other SCVs are coming in. They're going to be targeting this hatchery. Is there going to be no response from Microwave? Let's see how this goes. The other SCV is on its way now. There's another SCV going forward. This is an all-in. Only 2 SCVs mining. The Zerg economy continues. The pool gets placed down. The drone is again idled here, and now they're switching targets to the spawning pool, hoping to take it down before the Zerglings come out. The health does not seem to be increasing. There is a colony being placed down, though. This colony could be huge if it started before the pool is dead. Oh, the SCVs need to prioritize right now. With 4 SCVs, I think he might be able to take down this pool. Look at the health. It is going down faster than it's going up when all of them are attacking at once. 4 SCVs, this is a very interesting strategy. Obviously, predicated on the fact that the Zerg does not use its drones to defend itself. Very interesting, like, I guess, like a way of taking advantage of any holes that your opponent's AI may have in terms of its worker and early game defense. This is the kind of bot that I think would help develop the meta of all bots in general. The sunken is going to go up, but the pool is also going to go down. 6 lings are also made. Whoa, it's going to target the sunken. Now the drones are finally realizing the threat of these SCVs. The sunken goes up, and the drones are going to be forced to replace. And oh no, there was actually drones made, not Zerglings. I expected Zerglings for sure. We have repairs going down on the combat SCVs now. Are they going to be going around here trying to prevent any sort of? I'm actually not even sure what they're going to be doing. Are they going to be looking to deny any additional spawning pools that are made outside the range of the sunken, but inside the range of the creep over here? Looks like they're just keeping a very watchful eye over microwave here. The drone scout completes its journey here. In this scenario, I mean, obviously, besides building a spawning pool, maybe a spawning pool here would probably be ideal. Or maybe, no, here would be even better, most likely, because then it could help defend the sunken colony. But not that it's very necessary, seeing as these SCVs are now getting shot down by the sunken. I'm curious to know what they were thinking about doing that. But there doesn't seem to be any rush into building that second spawning pool. So let's see how the game progresses from here. Only 4 SCVs mining now for the Tyrant player. No more coming in because money is being spent on repairs. Here's the second spawning pool placed in the same exact spot. And I believe that if the SCVs stand here, they could easily take this down yet again. There should be enough room for 4 SCVs to take it down like this. Or I think it's actually more like this. Yeah. Either way, the SCVs seem to be just focused on scouting. And again, I've never seen at least a Terran do something like this, and I'm curious to see where this game goes from here. It has been recommended by the author of the Halpan, who is another Halpan, sorry, another bot author from the SSCAIT Discord. And it looks like the SCVs are actually here to deny expansions from the Zerg player, which seems to be going to seems like it's going to hemorrhage drones one by one trying to take this expansion, and it looks like Microwave is going to be opting for the 1 hatch layer instead, likely leading into Mutalisk play. This is a very risky build, but now that this game has already thrown the book out the window a long time ago, which is part of why watching these AI games is so interesting. But it looks like, oh no, the SCVs have lost sight of their priorities, and they're going to let a drone escape and take the natural. And this actually looks like it is a Hydra Den. Normally you want to start the Hydra Den about halfway through the layer transformation in order to have them finish at the same time, so you can start getting that Lurker upgrade as soon as both of them finish. Again, drones, you have to spend a drone to make a building with Zerg, and thus it's very important to optimize the timing of your buildings, because you want that drone working as long as possible. Oh, way to prove me wrong. It's an Evo chamber. Of course it's an Evo chamber. I'm really curious to see why. Well, I'm curious to hear why you think that this Evo chamber was built, because frankly I've seen a lot of low-level players go for an Evo chamber early on. I'm guessing maybe it's fearful of Wraith harass. Wraith is certainly an option in TVZ, both for human players and for AI. We've seen Wraith play in our previous game, and I've seen a ton of Wraith play in other games. But so far, we're not even close to that at the moment. We are getting gas, which means that we're likely seeing a tech opening from the Terran following up this SCV harassment. No Marines as of yet. And another drone looking to make its way out. Interested to see where it will be going. Yes, it's going to put itself here. It's going to be 3 hatch Muta. Normally, well, I think this is actually technically 2.5 hatch Muta. We do see 484 gas already, slightly over mined perhaps. So now we should see the Spire with 258 minerals, maybe? Spire? So 2.5 hatch Muta is a build that came out a couple years ago, I think at this point, maybe 1 or 2. You start your Spire when the hatchery is about halfway through, and that's less of a commitment than 3 hatch Spire. The Mutas come out earlier, and they are therefore better equipped at handling the infamous 1-1-1 build from the Terran player. But it seems like it's actually, looks like factory, maybe engineering bay. We'll have to see what that comes up to be. In the meantime, we're actually seeing 4 hatcheries now from the Zerg player, so it's not going to be Mutalisks. Very curious to see what's going to be coming up next. We do see a Sunken coming up here soon. Yes, that is an engineering bay, factory, depot. One Vulture coming out. Vulture would have been actually very devastating in this scenario because not only would it be able to clear out all of the drones here, it would also be able to potentially harass the gas because it's outside the range of the Sunken. Maybe sit over here and take down some probes, but no, the Sunken now is going to be very capable of holding off any Vulture aggression unless the AI saves up a couple and does a run-by, which is a known strategy. We saw the previous AI, the Terran in the last game, Egbert, I'm sorry, yeah, the AI in the previous game do a Vulture run-by strategy, but at that time there was no static defense. It seems that the AI is definitely performing cautiously here, aware of the Sunkens, and now with 2 Sunkens it will be very unlikely that it will be cost-effective to run by. We're getting double add-on now, hope maybe for siege tanks to bust down these Sunken colonies. And continuing with our 1 base production, but the economy now from the Terran player is actually quite strong. And we do get a run-by. I was very surprised to see that. That was a great move, and now this Vulture could be so annoying if handled properly with the patrol, but no, it looks like it's going to get trapped, is it? Yes, it is going to get trapped here at the bottom. One more hit from the Zergling maybe to take it down, or the Sunken. Ah, there we go, 1 Zergling hit does it. The Zerglings came out just in time for that run-by, and honestly, big props for doing that run-by. That is such a intelligent decision to make that it shows a lot about this AI's, at least its decision-making in that regard. That was a very cool move to see. And now we're going to see Patrol Micro move, which allows the Vultures to shoot and move at the same time, which basically makes Lings obsolete in this matchup, but it seems that it's actually a little bit less consistent than human beings would be at this Patrol Micro. Humans patrol Micro quite more frequently with every possible engagement, and it's actually getting eaten alive. Oh, it looks like it was waiting for speed. Frankly, I find it hard to do it personally with speed. And whoa, we have forward SCVs repairing the patrolling Vultures. This is so cool. Never seen anything like this. But with speed, now these Vultures are not getting hit. It just looks like it's going to be mass Zerglings. Maybe that's what the Evolution Chamber was for. It's probably for Zergling upgrades. It looks like it's going to be going for what is known as kind of, well, an adaptation of what is called Crazy Zerg. Crazy Zerg is when you go Mutalisks and then you skip Lurkers and you go straight into Cracklings and Ultralisks. But in this case, we skipped everything. We're going straight Zerglings. And, I mean, given the fact that it has 4 or 5 hatchery, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hatchery production now, even with the Vultures out on the field, I feel like the Zerg can afford to keep spamming Lings and keeping the Vultures at bay. This drone looks like it's interested in taking the expansion. Oh, actually, there is already an expansion here. The Vulture decides to leave the drone alone, though. And what's Terran doing behind this? Adding a starport. So this is 1 base tech, and this can be probably a 2nd starport as well. Race at this juncture. Oh, there is Mutalisks. There is indeed Mutalisks. I can't believe I missed that spire somewhere. Yes, it was coming up over here. So now with Muta, Zergling, we are primed for Crazy Zerg. However, with the Wraiths coming out soon, and good timing on the turrets as well, it should be noted, they are going to be able to defend. And we even have turrets at the expansion. I like this little arc here. It's obviously going to get repaired with the Inhuman AI speed and APM. Another turret going up as well. And now the Mutas are at a loss for what to do because the Vultures are faster than them. The turrets shoot further than them. And they're not in numbers sufficient to pressure any of this. And there is great actual turret coverage around here. Maybe a little bit weak on this side, but it seems like we will be getting some Wraiths coming out here. We already see an Armory as well. So potentially Goliaths. Goliaths fare very well against both Mutalisks and Zerglings when in low numbers. And this base is not going to be mining anytime soon with the Vulture presence there. I'm very interested why sometimes the AI doesn't just attack. I guess it's thinking about doing something else maybe. And another drone trying to get out, but it also gets sniped by the Vultures, and the Vultures continue to pressure at the front. And drones continuously trying to get out and make an expansion using the cover of Zerglings to try to get out, but this drone, will it go down? Yes, it will, with an uphill shot. And the Mutalisks are now actually coming out in greater numbers. It is actually going to be a Valkyrie, which is a great choice, especially with the coverage of turrets. Finally, the Mutas decide to go in. Nice micro back there, microing back the injured Mutalisk from the turret shot. More Valkyries on the way. That's what the armory was needed for, and that means that there's an academy somewhere as well. No, academy. Nope, never mind. I'm sorry about that. That's my Protoss knowledge of Terran. I thought that you needed an academy to make Valkyries, but it's actually just an armory. The Mutalisk number continues to rise, and interestingly enough, Stone has the economic advantage now. Considering how the early game fared off, it might be because this Zerg player is continuing to hemorrhage drones left and right, as well as Zerglings. So all of its larvae are constantly being used for units that go down, but now we have a small engagement here between Mutalisks and Valkyries. These two Valkyries are injured. There's another Valkyrie here, and we're going for another expansion here, but there's a mine here. I wonder what is this? He can't make a command center here anymore. That's, maybe just trying to get full coverage this way? I'm not sure. Valkyries, very tough to micro for humans. Oh, and now with Scourge out on the map, it becomes even tougher. The Valkyries are slower than both the Scourge and the Mutalisks, very slightly so. And Scourge do have very low HP, so some of these... Oh, they get a Valkyrie. Very nice pick off there. And are they going to get this one with a trailing shot? No, they're not. Okay, so the Valkyries come back to get repaired. The number is increasing, but so is the number of Mutalisks. And now we have SCVs harassing the expansion here. Turrets being placed in the middle of the map to provide air support for these Vultures, which continue to deny both drones and Zerglings alike. The turret takes out a Mutalisk even over here. And as the Valkyrie and Mutalisk numbers climb, it's going to be interesting to see how this game pans out. The turret is still standing there taking shots. The drones continue to go down one after another, one after another. They're trying to transfer to this base, presumably. One drone is alive here. Looks like a Valkyrie did go down. One is being repaired, and one drone manages to sneak out. There is Cloaked Wraiths now as well. An interesting addition, but not entirely unexpected given the trajectory of this match. And is it going to be able to set up this hatchery here? Frankly, I feel like the Zerg has it has lost so many more minerals than it has mined from these bases, but let's keep an eye on this engagement here in the middle. The Valkyries, the Wraiths dancing, the Valkyries running away, and the turret count continues to increase, and this is such such a unique game already. Thank you, Halpan, for the suggestion here. And the mine actually it destroyed its own mine to place the command center. That's so smart. That is really, really smart. I really like that move. And I love the fact that there's mines at every base as well. This is to prevent the Zerg from expanding there easily. It did manage to expand here, however. And the drone count is starting to finally increase over here. I wonder if the pressure from the Vultures will get here. But the constant transfers are costing it enough already. Another Vulture here is going to continue to pressure these drones. And the middle line here is actually getting quite scarce. The amount of Scourge here, and now we finally have Hydras. Hydras are a great counter to both Vultures, Goliaths, and Mutalisks, but they need to be accompanied by Overlords with speed in order to scout for mines. Hydra count still has not climbed to quite the level we expect. Mines are being placed in a lot of places, actually, and a great SCV transfer here for the Terran player who's adding comsats. And now we have SCVs, Vultures, Goliaths, Wraiths, Valkyries, Medics in the mix. Are the Medics to heal the SCVs that repair the mechanical units? If so, that is a big brain play. 2,000 IQ Galaxy brain play. And let's see, more drones getting denied. I'm still not seeing any siege tanks that would be very useful in this kind of scenario, especially against Ultralisks. Tanks are pretty much the counter to Ultralisks, especially when supported with meat shield units like Vultures and Goliaths, or SCVs and Medics in this case. The Terran just does not... It has successfully taken over a large part of the map, And now we finally see the siege tanks. It's a great siege, and the Hydralisks, who were eager to move out and could have potentially taken the engagement, just one tank completely changing the dynamic of this interaction right here. And it seems like we are not going to see the Zerg moving out anytime soon. However, it does have this base, and it managed to sneak one drone out somehow through all the chaos there. The Zerg, unfortunately, only on 19 workers. This mineral line completely bereft of drones that were consistently being transferred to all of these bases. Just one drone each, but now the Wraith coming over here to assassinate this expansion and the drone behind it. The pushes are incoming. The Scourge getting dragged out by the Valkyrie, but then getting shot by the ranged Goliaths. Very nice control from the stone AI here. And the tanks, it seems like they're just slowly going to creep forward into this base as the meat shield units provide coverage. In the meantime, the Terran is continuing to expand. I love the fact that it deletes its own mines and then adds turrets while taking the command center. That prevents any denial from the Mutas, which may be out on the map right now, but there are none. And now we're seeing the Terran player start pushing its advantage towards the ailing Zerg player. Zerg has established that base, and I don't think that Terran is aware of it. I don't believe that there was a mine there. However, continuing to hemorrhage drones and army into this sieged up force, with SCVs repairing and medics healing, Goliaths outranging, and Wraiths and Valkyries dancing, it seems like it's going to be a tough call, a tough climb out for this Zerg player. He's trying to push forward with sunken colonies, perhaps not the best decision against siege tanks or within siege range. And the Terran slowly but surely inching forward to the Zerg player. And now we're going to see... ooh, I love the fact that there's vessels here. I love the fact that Scourge committed to taking out the vessel. Lurkers could have been problematic here. Obviously, Irradiate for Mutalisks is very useful as well, because if there was 12 Mutalisks here, I think they might actually have been able to take down the limited amount of Goliaths, one Valkyrie and one Wraith here. Two Wraiths go down to Aspire there. I mean, as 4 colony, a little bit sloppy. And now finally, broken through the Sunkens, the Terran player is going to be able to make it in and start destroying the Zerg opponent here. Already deep into the main base, destroying all the drones here, down to 3 workers, all 3 of them here. The SCVs are going to find this base. It looks like it was thinking about expanding here, maybe. One drone escapes. The drone that could. Where is it going? No, don't go back there. It's dangerous there. Oh, it perishes. And it's all but over for the Zerg player at this point. The SCVs are taking down the gas. The warrior SCVs that Stone will maybe have a name for now. I mean, make its name on. Given the way that this game started, these combat SCVs out here repairing mech units consistently, a tactic I've seen other AI do. But this is, and it's incredibly useful. It's one of those dream plays that you would love to see when you were a kid. You wanted to bring your SCVs and repair every siege tank and Goliath you ever made as you were pushing against the campaign AI. The AI here makes it possible to do so. And now the Zerg is down to 1 base and 1 extractor, and it looks like it called the GG. The Hatchery here, no drones, less than 50 minerals. Microwave knows that it's over and calls the GG. What a fantastic game. I mean, honestly, I am shocked by the way this game started. Let's take a look at that just one more time. Let's just look at this starting strategy from the SCVs here. I mean, to split up in every possible direction and go everywhere to find the Zerg opponent. Then he's going to pull this SCV back as soon as he finds the opponent. Yes, pulls this one back, and this move right here, I mean, it looks like it confused at least this drone, because I think it's holding a mineral. Yeah, it is, and it doesn't drop it off. The drone was not sure what to do. It wanted to attack, kind of didn't want to attack, and there is merit to that. You have 1 SCV attacking 1 hatchery is not that scary. 2 SCVs attacking 1 hatchery now becomes scary. 3 SCVs attacking a spawning pool, definitely 100% scary. This is the point where the AI should realize, okay, this is a threat, because if this pool goes down before the creep colony finishes, that is a big, big problem. I'm sorry, before if the pool goes down before it finishes, the creep colony can't become a sunken, and I think that there was definite potential for that. If Stone had committed hard to attacking this spawning pool, this sunken never would have gotten up, and at that point, it would have been a completely different game. But this sunken eventually does take out these SCVs. I feel like these SCVs, they lost sight of what they were supposed to do. For like, they did deny some drones coming out, but they keep kind of gravitating further northward, and thus letting it, one or two drones escape. And they also keep coming into the sunken range, which I think is a little bit awkward. But either way, it was an incredibly interesting strategy to see. And thank you both Stone and Microwave for providing these games. Now, I want to take the liberty. I wish I had known that this would happen earlier. I like to not preview the replays too much because I like my surprise to be genuine for the viewers. But I believe that the Nalra game is in Pimpest Plays. It's a Pimpest Plays video. I believe it was 2004. It was the one that was segmented into two parts. There was like a part 1 and part 2, and it was definitely a part 2. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, unfortunately, I can't find it at the moment, but it is an interesting strategy. Yes, it is. It was used in Protoss versus Terran. What you do is you use the probes in order to deny the SCVs that are making the barracks, and then you use your small economy to get a gateway and send zealots before the Terran can make their own Marines. However, in this case, these SCVs are being used to assassinate drones going out, and this is the moment that I was talking about earlier where it moved out and took this expansion without any difficulty because the SCVs had moved out of the way. So I feel like a little bit of fine-tuning, and this SCV rush could be a very veritable bot killer, at least for the bots that haven't fully optimized their early worker AI. When to prioritize attacking enemy workers, when to defend key structures like the spawning pool. I feel like this would definitely be a learning experience for not just Microwave's developer, but for other bots as well, especially ones that face Stone on the SSCAIT ladder. Now, I have also been given a resource, which I recommend for any of you watching who wants to find some games to watch on your own. And I'll show it to you here, using the last few minutes that we have together. This is the cross table showing showing the bot ladder, basically, and showing what the win rates are between two bots. And one thing that I was recommended is to look at games that, very even sets. So everything that is a white set, like this one between Purple Destiny and Steam, what does it say? Let's see what this says. Steam Hammer. So like any game between Purple Destiny and Steam Hammer is likely to be pretty even. So now what we do is we go to last 24 and we're going to look up Purple Destiny. Purple Destiny and then Steam Hammer. Let's see if we find anything. So we got 2 games from the last 2 hours, and we can either open them through downloads or watch them through OpenBW. So let's take a look at this just very briefly, just so I can show you how it's done. By the way, you do have to upload some Brood War files here to make it work. And boom, we're right into the game between Steam Hammer in blue and Purple Wave in the brown. Now, I'm not going to show you this full replay because we are fully out of time. However, I just wanted to show you how you can do so yourself, how to find interesting games that you can view on your own time. And that just about does it for us today. I would like to thank you for watching. This has been Chobo Swaggins, aka Jealous on Team Liquid, and again, this has been the SSCAIT tournament report. Sorry, SSCIT report, and that expands to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. So look forward to another broadcast next week, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Cheers.